Between 25 and 35, something invisible is happening. It doesn't feel dramatic. No alarms, no countdown clock, no warning. You're just busy. Busy working, busy paying bills, busy trying to get stable, busy telling yourself, I'll think about wealth later. But this decade is not neutral. It is the decade where your financial destiny quietly locks in. Not because of how much you earn, but because of what your mind learns to normalize. Normalize stress. Normalize living month to month. Normalize trading time for money. Normalize waiting for promotions. Normalize one day I'll start. Or normalize building. Normalize learning leverage. Normalize owning instead of renting your life. Normalize thinking long-term, while others think weekend. Picture two 28-year-olds. Same salary, same intelligence, same potential. One spends these years perfecting comfort, better apartment, better phone, better lifestyle, more expenses that look like success. The other spends these years building invisible foundations, skills that scale, assets that grow, systems that don't depend on hours. From the outside, the first one looks like they're winning. From the inside, the second one is planting seeds that will decide the next 40 years. Because after 35, something changes. Risk tolerance drops, responsibilities rise, energy shifts, fear of starting over gets louder. The game becomes harder to change, so what you wire into your brain now becomes the default setting for the rest of your life. There is one habit that silently decides everything between 25 and 35. Not how hard you work, not how smart you are, not even how much you earn. It's this: what you do with your extra time and money. Most people use it to escape stress, escape boredom, escape reality. They upgrade comfort, they upgrade lifestyle, they upgrade distractions. Netflix gets better, phones get newer, trips get fancier, but the income engine stays the same size. So life feels okay, but the future is being quietly underfunded. A smaller group uses that same extra time and money very differently. They invest it into skills that compound, knowledge that multiplies, projects that build ownership, systems that can grow without them. While others are buying things to feel rich, they are building things that make them rich. This is the fork in the road. One path trains your brain to seek relief. The other trains your brain to build leverage. And whichever pattern you repeat in your late 20s and early 30s becomes automatic. Comfort becomes the default, or growth becomes the default. By the time you're 35, you're no longer choosing this behavior. You're running it. Between 25 and 35, you have something you will never have again in the same combination: time, energy, learning speed, risk tolerance. This is the only decade where mistakes are cheap, and lessons pay for decades. Think of compounding like planting a tree. Plant at 25, and by 45, it gives shade, fruit, and protection. Plant at 35, and it's still growing when you need rest. Plant at 45, and you may never sit under it. It's not about starting perfectly. It's about starting early enough for time to do the heavy lifting. This is why two people with the same income at 30 can have completely different lives at 50. One spent this decade building equity, skills with leverage, ownership, systems that grow quietly. The other spent it maintaining lifestyle, comfort, image, stability without growth. Both felt fine at 30. Only one feels free at 50. The cruel part? The stress doesn't come from lack of effort. It comes from realizing too late that time was the real asset, and it was spent on things that didn't multiply. Up to your mid-20s, life trains you to think in one way. How do I earn more? Better job, better company, better salary, better title. It's logical. It's safe. It's what everyone around you is doing. But between 25 and 35, a silent upgrade must happen in your thinking. From earning to building. Earning is linear. You work, you get paid. You stop, it stops. Building is exponential. You create once, it pays many times. You step back, it keeps moving. This is where futures split. One person keeps optimizing for higher pay, more security, better benefits, bigger comfort. The other starts optimizing for ownership, leverage, skills that scale, systems that grow without permission. The first becomes very good at surviving. The second becomes very good at compounding. And here's the psychological trap. Earning feels productive every day. Building feels slow, uncertain, even foolish at first. So most people choose what feels rewarding now and avoid what becomes rewarding later. By 35, the difference shows up as one life where income is tied to a calendar, another where income is tied to assets, one life where time is the boss, another where time is the employee. By your early 30s, something dangerous forms, an identity. I'm a professional. I'm a provider. I'm the responsible one. I can't take risks now. This identity feels mature, but it quietly cages your future. Because once you become the person who plays it safe, every decision must now protect that image. You stop asking, what could I build if I started from zero? You start asking, what can I afford to lose without looking foolish? So you avoid starting small businesses, learning uncomfortable skills, being bad at something in public, taking asymmetric bets, looking uncertain for a few years. Not because you can't do them, but because they don't fit who you've decided you are. Meanwhile, the people who escape stress don't protect an image. They protect a trajectory. They are willing to look confused at 27 to look free at 47. They are willing to look unstable at 30 to be unshakable at 50. They trade short-term identity comfort for long-term outcome power. And that trade, more than salary, more than intelligence, more than luck, is what decides whether your 30s become the decade you locked into pressure, or the decade you quietly built your way out. Between 25 and 35, one rule quietly separates two futures. Build assets first, then upgrade lifestyle. Never the other way around. Most people reverse it. They upgrade comfort as soon as income rises. Bigger rent, better car, more subscriptions, more, I deserve this. Their life expands, but their freedom doesn't. A smaller group lives by a harder rule. Every raise, every bonus, every extra hour of energy goes into skills that increase future income, assets that work without their presence, systems that scale, ownership instead of consumption. They delay comfort, they accelerate leverage, and because of that, time starts working for them instead of against them. By 40, the difference is brutal. One person is still running, still stressed, still dependent on monthly income, still afraid of one bad year. The other has momentum, income not tied to hours, options instead of obligations, calm instead of pressure, choice instead of fear. Not because they were luckier, not because they were smarter, but because between 25 and 35, they chose to build what pays them back instead of what drains them. That decade is the doorway. Walk through it building assets, and the rest of your life feels lighter. Walk through it building only lifestyle, and the rest of your life feels heavier. The stress, or the wealth you live with later, is simply the interest on the decisions you compound now.